Buenos días, good morning, bienvenido a todos, welcome. Esta panel es en inglés. Me llamo James Black. I'm the Vice President, Treasurer, and United Nations Representative for the World Jurist Association. Siempre un honor. It's always an honor to be able to be on one of these panels, especially with these distinguished colleagues. Today we're going to be talking about the legal implications and ethical disputes of AI in today's society. So let me start, if I may, by introducing our panelists in no particular order. Primero first, Marta González is a partner in the Litigation, Intellectual Property, and Life Sciences Department at Eversheds, Sutherland, and Madrid, the director of Pharma Unit, and was recently appointed the co-head of Eversheds, Sutherland's Global Health and Sciences Group. Congratulations. Starting in January 2025, she is also serving as the head of the Health Steering Committee in the Madrid office. She has extensive experience advising pharmaceutical and life sciences companies on patent litigation, product liability, unfair competition, and regulatory matters, supported by her in-house experience with GlaxoSmithKline and Cellogen. Marta has been consistently recognized by leading international directories for her outstanding career in the life sciences and intellectual property sectors. Chambers and partners in the Legal 500 have repeatedly highlighted her as a key professional in life sciences and patents. And in 2024, she was again featured among the most prominent lawyers in these fields, with her team also praised for its excellence in litigation and specialized advisory work. In 2019, she was awarded Best Lawyer of the Year in Spain in the Life Sciences and Pharma category, and the very prestigious 40 Under 40 Awards, organized by the Iberian Lawyers. Next. Next is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Ian McDougall. Ian is the president of LexisNexis Rule of Law Foundation, which is a charitable organization registered in the United States and established to advance the rule of law. So, like minds and like spirits, we welcome you. Ian is the chair of the United Nations Global Compact Legal Advisory Board and a professor at IE University in Madrid, teaching the rule of law and artificial intelligence and the legal profession, all which will be very relevant this morning, clearly. Since 2023, he has been a trustee of the Civil Liberties Trust in the United Kingdom, and since 2024, trustee of the International Bar Association Foundation. Until September of 2024, Ian was the executive vice president and general counsel for LexisNexis, having been with LexisNexis for 20 years and having been involved in the artificial intelligence issues for at least 10 years. And next to my left is my good friend and colleague, Professor Michał Jackowski. He's an executive MBA at ESCAP Europe, international cooperation leader of the AI working group at the Polish Ministry of Digital Affairs, a member of the plenary group drafting LLM Code of Practice for the EU AI Office, a law professor at Cambridge visiting SWPS University, an attorney and a tax advisor with over 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur. He's an advisor and representative of the technology industry in very difficult legislative processes. He co-founded DSK Law Firm, a law and tax firm specializing in advising the IT sector, and co-founder of innovative startups. And I could also say personally, my law firm and his have worked together, so it's not just on paper, it's very, very real what a fine lawyer Michael is. He's the author of several books and numerous scientific publications in the field of law. He's a promoter of knowledge at the intersection of law and AI, and he hosts the Monday Bagel broadcast on YouTube, where he regularly publishes interviews with scientists, legal practitioners, and AI experts. He's also a marathon runner and a skier. As far as bagels go, you're going to have to come to New York for real bagels. And finally, it is our honor to have Deputy Mr. Dobi here this morning from Albania. There we go. He's a well-known professional in the field of the rule of law and European integration, currently serving as the Deputy Minister of Justice. He primarily focuses on the strategic framework of justice and integration in the European Union, engaging as a negotiator for Albania's accession to the EU for Chapter 23 on the judiciary, anti-corruption, and fundamental rights. With extensive professional experience, Dobi has contributed as a high-level expert in various projects supporting Albania's European integration process. And we all can't wait for that wonderful day when you join the EU fully. He has worked on anti-corruption issues and assisted in the approximation with the EU acquis. During 21 and 22, he served as advisor to the Prime Minister, engaging in the drafting and improvement of priority acts and negotiating international agreements. Prior to this, he was a national expert in Eurolaws, contributing to establishing and implementing the 2016 justice reform and legislative initiatives in various areas. He holds advanced degrees from the University of Edinburgh and Cornell, and has completed executive studies at Harvard. Additionally, he has served as adjunct lecturer in the University of Tirana, helping train new generations in the field of law, drafting, and professional ethics. Topic near and dear to my heart as an ethics professor as well. So, with that completed, let us turn to... So why are we here this morning? Now I'll finally sit down. So as I said, we're here to talk about both legal and ethical implications of artificial intelligence. Legal and corporate ethics and compliance is hard enough, and now we throw in a whole other layer of what does artificial intelligence mean for that? Well, obviously, throughout all the countries that are represented here, and those that are not, everyone is trying to figure this out and figure out, does this need to be regulated? How do we regulate it? And exactly what is it that we're regulating? I'm old enough to have seen different technologies come and go over the years, and say, you know, what is this internet and how do we regulate it? And cryptocurrency, and now artificial intelligence, and soon there will be something after that. But learning is hard. I remember as a very young lawyer working in the copyright area where someone tried to copyright in the United States source code. And the judge looked at it and said, these are zeros and ones. I can't read this. This isn't copyrightable. And everyone had to run to the legislatures to get software or something that could be copyrightable because it was so different. Other things I hope we'll talk about today is responsibility. Who drafts AI? And as it modifies, who's responsible for the output? Who's responsible for what it says, how it says it, the images? I remember not too long ago seeing an AI image, and it was actually the face of a classmate of one of my daughters. And I actually wrote to the gentleman and said, do you know they're using your image? So it's interesting, which leads to the next point I hope we'll talk about today, which will be data privacy. That's on everyone's mind, not only here not only in Europe, but throughout Latin America, and finally in the United States. We're starting to adopt data privacy rules and laws protecting people's rights to privacy and to control their data. And of course, the last part I hope we'll talk about today will also be, what are the ethical issues around AI? You know, AI is the creature of our thoughts and like everything else, there's a bias. And how does that bias translate into what is there on the page or on the screen? And can someone else use their bias to further change it? Does AI become independent itself at some point? For those of us who are Arnold Schwarzenegger fans, we always joke of the movie Terminator. When will Skynet become self-aware? And when will AI dictate itself and dictate to us? So with that, these are some things I hope we'll talk about today. And again, it's an honor to serve as the chair of this panel. But we'll start turning over to Ian, who will talk a little bit about what exactly is this and what does it do and how did it get here? Ian, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Hopefully you can. Yes, good. Okay, so first of all, I want to burst a few myths about what AI is. Number one, AI is currently not intelligent. That's just an important thing I think you ought to bear in mind. Now, in the legal profession, we are particularly concerned with words, and so effectively what I'm talking about today are something called large language models, which recently came to prominence because of very significant developments in the technology. Let me just briefly explain how the large language model works. It is a model which is being developed from what's called machine learning, but basically this involves it going out onto the internet and vacuuming up every word it can find. And it creates associations with other words that are connected to it. Basically, it creates a statistical model. It is trying to predict what is the next most likely word. Now, what does that mean? Why is that important? Number one, it's not intelligent. It's not thinking. It doesn't understand concepts. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't care about you. All of these things. What it's doing is it's using statistics to create a prediction of the next most likely word. Now, that sounds very simple. I don't wish to say that that's not an amazing piece of technology. It is a major leap forward in technology. Recent advances in computer processing power and connectivity have made it possible to create a statistical model which is trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions of data connections. So, please understand that it, the large language model, does not understand ethics. It does not understand the difference between right and wrong. It treats every piece of information it has with exactly the same weight until it is statistically superseded by a more statistically likely outcome. Now, there was a famous science fiction writer called Arthur C. Clarke who said that sufficiently advanced technology looks like magic. Okay, I hope I've explained to you that no matter how wonderful this technology is, it is not magic. It is a very, very, very complicated computer program. Okay, now I hope you can see the point I'm driving at here, which is that we've had computer programs for a long time. That in itself is not new. What this is a fantastically complicated, epoch-making, industrial revolution-making computer program. Now think about that in terms of regulation, in terms of liability, in terms of all of the legal questions that are going to be discussed today, because in my view, my humble view, a lot of that law already exists. A lot of law which covers the use and liability in respect of the use of computer programs already exists. Okay, I think that's a really important point. The second point is that there are some concerns that people have, and that I have heard this question asked of me. So, how do we know it's coming up with the answer for the right reasons? I was talking to a conference of federal judges in the United States, and this was the first question that I was asked, robo-judges. How do we know that the machine is coming up with the answer for the right reasons? I have two answers to that. Number one, I don't know, you are. That's my first point. My second point is that the auditing of such systems will very, very soon, if not already, become impossible because of the sheer scale and complexity of what it is doing. Let me give you a little story. Please tell me when I'm running out of time. I will tell you a little story. I negotiated a very big contract with one of the providers of large language models called Anthropic. Anthropic produces a model which is called Claude, and it's a ChatGPT competitor. And while I was up there, don't forget this is in America, it's a English language large language model. And while I was there, I typed in a question to it while there was a break in negotiations. And I typed in, "Hablo español?" ? And it replied to me, "Lo siento, no puedo hablo español." In Spanish, right? Its answer is, "I'm sorry, I can't speak Spanish," in Spanish. So I showed this to the senior engineer of Anthropic, the man who is responsible for the whole architecture, the whole system. And I showed him this exchange. And he looked at it and he said, "Yeah, we don't know why it does that either." Now, the reason he doesn't know and can never know is because the system has been created that's, number one, too complex to be audited, cannot be practically done. And number two, the whole point of machine learning is that it develops beyond its base programming. Yeah? So if you think about it, the whole object is that it becomes more than what it was on day one by its continual learning process. It's never going to be audited. It's never going to be possible. Here is where I think the moral issue comes in. So who ought to be responsible for what it does? I'm going to perhaps be controversial here and say you should be responsible for what it does and for how you use it. I say this at conferences everywhere. Do not become a tech zombie. Do not become someone who is the passive recipient of whatever it does. It knows nothing. It believes nothing. It only knows that the next most statistically likely word is this. So I think that's really, really important. And the reason why I wanted to start today is because once I start explaining that, I think many of the questions about ethics, about its use, about how the legal profession ought to be responsible for what it does, becomes clear. Because how is it that you can think anything other than that you are responsible for a machine which knows nothing and can never know anything, and the idea that it is intelligent is obviously wrong? Now, the thing is that there's a guy who was basically thought of as the father of modern computing called Professor Alan Turing. And Alan Turing described this argument about whether something was conscious or not conscious. Okay, it's irrelevant because what the computer is doing, what the large language model is doing, is something that Alan Turing called playing the imitation game. It looks like it's thinking. It looks like it knows what it's doing. Well, that's convincing enough. And so we don't need to think about whether it is developing its own way of thinking or all of this kind of thing, because what matters is not whether it is conscious. What matters is what you do with it. And this is the way that I believe we ought to start thinking. It will change everything. Our entire world will be changed by this technology. There's no doubt about it, because it can now do things that look like they are cognitive, which was previously the reserve of humans. Well, it can pretend to be cognitive. Well, that's good enough. That's all you need to do, is to pretend to be cognitive. And that's why it will change all of the cognitive professions. Science, medicine, law, all of them will change fundamentally. And does that mean it's the end of lawyers? No, because lawyers could have been removed 500 years ago. when something called a book was invented. And everything that you know about the law, someone can walk into a public library in most major towns and find out everything that you know. But they don't. And the reason they don't is a wonderful book written in the 1780s by Adam Smith on the division of labor, and so on and so on. But what it will do is fundamentally change the way that lawyers do their job. What is required of a lawyer? The way that Abraham Lincoln practiced law is unrecognizable to the way that you practice law. And in 50 years' time, the way lawyers practice law will be unrecognizable to the way that you practice law. There are only going to be two types of lawyers in the future. Ones that adopt and incorporate artificial intelligence, and ones that fail. This is the future. So I ask you then, I should probably be wrapping up now, yeah? So my last point then is to reiterate something I've been saying, which is that it's a fantastic piece of technology. It will change fundamentally the way that many things are done in the world. But it is ultimately a computer program. And the degree to which you hand over your life to be run by that computer program is still a choice for you. And I say again, don't become a tech zombie. Become someone who questions and thinks about this technology. People will make mistakes with it. They will submit things to the court which are inaccurate. But they've been doing that long before artificial intelligence came along. So let us remember who is liable for the use to which it is put. One last point. Nobody ever, I used to be an advocate in London, no court ever said to me, this piece of document that you are submitting, did you spell every word yourself, or did Microsoft spell checker do it? I was never asked that. Did the court ever say to me, well, this calculation of damages that you are giving me, did you use a calculator or a pencil and paper? And when you use the calculator, did you check its output to make sure that the output of the calculator was correct? These are nonsense questions. As I say, it comes back to my whole fundamental theme. Number one, this is an extremely clever, revolutionary piece of technology, but it is a computer program, and the responsibility for its use should lie with the people who are putting it to use. Thank you.
Ian, thank you so much for opening comments. Before we go to the rest of the panel, I was just told I'm supposed to play this video. So give me a moment. Not sure what it is, but we'll all find out together.
Good morning today. It is a great honor to speak at the 2025 World Law Congress, which is hosted by the World Jurist Association and held in the Dominican Republic. A world ruled by law and not by the force has been the mission of the association since its establishment. The World Law Congress has stood out as a global voice of law. Here, on behalf of myself, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations on the convening of this conference, express my sincere gratitude to the World Association of Jurists, the organizer, and pay my highest respects to all the experts and scholars present at the conference. From the transformation of digital legal education to the legal implication and ethical disputes of artificial intelligence in today's society, and steering the complexity of AI governance and accountability, digital challenges are everywhere. First, the development of traditional legal education in the digital age. Driven by two digital revolution, German legal education has ushered in a transformation phase to meet the requirements of digitalization that is following the largest nationwide survey of digital legal education. The revision of German Judges Act in 2021 has opened the curtain of the paperless national judicial examination. From the cultivation of judge ability to the cultivation of complete legal person. German university law schools must inevitably face digital challenges such as the legal implications and ethical controversies of AI, the digital intelligence and complexity of today's social governance, artificial intelligence, governance, and accountability, and so on. But at the same time, digital jurisprudence must face the challenge of traditional doctrinal method. It can be asserted that digital technology represented by artificial intelligence not only has an impact on the field of legal education in Germany, or even disrupts the legal industry, as German scholars have cited, but also is a dilemma and problem of digital challenges generally faced in the international scope. For example, countries in the world are generally affected by the digital wave at the end of 20th century and the digital technology at the beginning of 21st century. Second, the challenge of traditional legal culture in the digital age. At present, China's national cultural digitalization strategy regards the integration of collected traditional Chinese culture and science and technology as a very important and necessary matter. At the same time, the legal implications of digital challenges on history and culture and ethical disputes are inevitable, and the promotion of traditional legal culture is facing a very difficult and complex situation. There is no doubt that many Asian civilizations represented by China regard the integration of traditional culture and science and technology as the core force to promote the development and progress of human civilization. From the development of paper and print in ancient China to today's digital technology of artificial intelligence, scientific and technological innovation and revolution has always been the key path to carry forward and develop excellent traditional culture, among which traditional legal culture is more important. In the long history of human civilization, all the scientific and technological changes have greatly promoted the diffusion and communication of culture, thus enabling human civilization to translate the limitation of fixed time and space and be understood and praised by more people. But at the same time, it is bound to face more difficult situations and complex challenges. And the global digital challenges, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, social media, data protection, regulation of new technology, and the rule of law in digital transformation have increasingly become hot topics and dilemmas of the time. Third, opportunities for traditional legal culture in the digital age. I believe that in the era of global digital challenges, China, as an ancient civilization with a long history and cultural tradition, and a profound rule of law, should make its voice heard on the international stage and participate in international exchange and dialogue. History, culture, international tradition, AI, law, ethics, and social governance have become a dilemma of time and need to be solved urgently. Looking back on the essence of Chinese history and culture, such as excellent traditional Chinese legal culture, the crystallization of civilization that can best show its charm and characteristics, an ancient Chinese school of law, namely legalist, and Chinese legal classic, namely the town code, a Chinese legal system, namely the Chinese legal system, a monograph of the original collection of ancient Chinese judgments, namely the overview of criminal cases, and a group of ancient Chinese legal professors, namely the legal practitioner. It is these 8 achievements that are inseparable from the legal implication and ethical disputes of artificial intelligence in today's society, making China's excellent traditional legal culture face the challenge of digitalization. It is the bounden duty and mission of contemporary Chinese jurists and professionals to contribute to the innovation in the practice of contemporary Chinese jurists and professionals to contribute to the innovation in the practice of law and the use of artificial intelligence. For the sake of world peace and liberty, we should discuss a wide variety of current topics to which the legal community should propose solutions. First, innovation in the application of artificial intelligence in the digital age. Although the legal application of digital challenge on history and culture and ethical disputes cannot hinder the integration, development, and innovation breakthrough of Chinese excellent traditional culture and artificial intelligence technology. We should take into account history, culture, tradition, artificial intelligence, law, ethics, social governance, and other factors which will not only help inherit and develop traditional culture, it can also provide a solid foundation and broad space for the next step of innovative development and creative transformation. The rule of law in the digital transformation of the world, innovative legal practice, and the use of artificial intelligence are all realistic dilemmas facing us. We should consider how to use artificial intelligence technology to fully explicit the deep values and future expression of traditional culture on the basis of fully consider the complexity of guarding AI governance and accountability, and whether traditional legal culture will help or inevitable backfire is worth pointing on the basis of fully studying the legal implications and ethical disputes of artificial intelligence in today's society. We can better develop new growth points of cultural development so as to help the deep integration and development of experience that meet the needs of time in the tide of digital transformation in the world. Under the legal implication of digital challenges on history and culture and ethical disputes, how to carry forward traditional legal culture is faced with arduous complexity. Of course, we cannot ignore the impact of artificial intelligence in the justice system, big tech, and data protection. Dialogue challenges, digital challenges, such as crime occurs, only then can we better integrate excellent tradition culture with artificial intelligence technology and make it further develop in an era of global digital challenges. Let us work together to explore shared value and promote understanding and communication across different cultural traditions and religious beliefs, and work with professions from around the world to cooperate in strengthening and expanding the rule of law and its institution. Finally, I wish this year's World Law Congress a complete success. Thank you.
I'm sure we're all grateful that the judge was able to send his thoughts to us from China. And now we're back to our live presenters again. Michael, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. As we know how AI works, and as we know how AI is approached by Chinese judges, Chinese judiciary, I would like to speak a little bit about the data and the real use of artificial intelligence by lawyers, not the intuitions. Because very often when I'm visiting some Congress conferences, a lot of people speak how lawyers use AI, but they have mostly intuitions. So 2 years ago, with a group of distinguished colleagues from the societies researching artificial intelligence and law, we decided to check how the reality looks like. So, and the AI and law world is not so novel. The International Association for Artificial Intelligence and Law researches AI and law since 1970s, and one of our collaborators in the project, Mark Lauritsen, wrote his first paper in 1984. So it's AI and law predates, for instance, ESG, data protection, and in Poland even privacy research. So it's not such the novel thing. It is rather that we all heard about artificial intelligence when we were able to use it day to day when ChatGPT was launched 2 years ago, but the research is really, really old. So 2 years ago, we decided to build a bridge between two communities, researchers that were researching it many years, and practitioners who started using AI tools but didn't know about this history. So through this exchange, scholars gain insights from legal professionals, and practitioners discovered that the field has rich intellectual history. In June 2023, we investigated law firms, firstly, only law firms, how they approach AI. It was not easy to get information from law firms. I was quite surprised because I thought that lawyers would like to share their views and information about such the novel field of their industry, but it was really tough to get some information. But finally, we received responses from over 200 law firms globally, representing 100,000 employees and 50,000 lawyers. And the findings challenged common assumption. Almost over half of law firms that we surveyed that year, 2 years ago, implemented somehow AI-based tools. And 12% said that they are looking in this field and exploring actively options. 70%, 7 out of 10 lawyers said that they were really open toward AI. And almost half of the respondents predicted widespread adoption of AI across legal industry. So this was really unexpected by us as a group of researchers, and these unexpected outcomes prompted us to check if this is the reality or was it just the AI hype 2 years ago. And we decided to go once again to check how the reality looks like, how the AI use of AI tools looks like. We expanded our methodological approach, incorporating both law firms this time and in-house departments to check how the reality looks like from both sides of the legal industry. We also thought about checking the public bodies, but finally we decided not to do it because it's totally different approach of public authorities. So I'm really interested how it looks like from your point of view. We also, 2 years ago, we were asking about AI itself. So So now later on, we started thinking if lawyers who responded that they are using AI were thinking about legal tech tools specialized for legal industry, in the legal industry, or maybe in Google search engines, in some kinds of word generators. So this time we also asked specifically about legal tech tools, AI-based legal tech tools, and focused on them. This time we benefited from partnerships with prominent international legal organizations. So we extend a sincere gratitude to World Jurist Association, our gracious host today, who spread the survey among their members, its members. But we also, our partners were also CCBE, Council of Bars and Law Societies of Europe, European Bars Federation, International Association of Young Lawyers, International Legal Tech Association, and many, many organizations. So this time we collected data from organizations representing nearly 500,000 legal practitioners worldwide. And how it looks, how the reality looks like. So over 80% of law firms and 3/4 of in-house departments employ AI technologies. So it's not the future, as Ian mentioned. It's the reality. So it's a substantial increase from 51% 2 years ago, and 2/3 of the respondents. We asked this time for the first time, how often do you use? So 2/3 of respondents report using AI-based tools either daily or several times a week. So it's a tool being used day to day. 3/4 of respondents express positive or very positive evaluation of AI impact on legal practice. Only 12% express negative perception. The most common AI applications are document drafting, half of the respondents, document summarization, and document review. So this confirms that legal world is document-centric. However, I think my conclusion is that also legal practitioners struggle to envision AI application in more advanced processes, more advanced domains, such as client acquisition, such as workflow organization, decision making. So it's suggesting a boundary in what activities are considered amenable to technological assistance. It requires, I think, more dialogue with researchers who research such things as decision making or AI-based research. What are primary concerns? Legal issues, of course, with a world rapidly changing, regulatory world rapidly changing, AI Act, new AI laws in the States changing, and so on. Privacy and security concerns, 2/3 of respondents. AI accuracy and reliability, 64%. And ethical questions and labor market disruption receive much less attention. Only 1/3 is afraid of ethical issues, and only 10% of lawyers are afraid of labor market disruption. 75% of respondents anticipate extremely or very widespread AI adoption within 3 years. Labor market concerns remain minimal, as I mentioned, but 53%, so over a half of the respondents, believe paralegal tasks will be increasingly automated. So I think this suggests a nuanced understanding of AI differential impact across professional roles. So these are main information. Of course, we have many more statistics, and the report will be published this fall this year. But I have 4 main conclusions. So first one is that AI has become operational reality in contemporary legal practice. It's not the future, it's today. We use it, we have to use it to be able to compete. legal organizations increasingly expect AI competency from practitioners. This is what it looks like. And educational institutions have not adequately revised curricula to address this gap. We don't teach students AI. I teach students and I ask them, what do you know about AI? And it's mostly ChatGPT still, knowledge about ChatGPT, used in a very different ways, not very safe ways. While respondents express minimal concern about professional displacement, they recognize that routine legal tasks face substantial automation potential. For me, it suggests that entry level's position will be transformed. Junior lawyers will be, it will be very tough world for junior lawyers to enter the market and to succeed. And it's a big challenge for us with a huge number of students. And the professional receptiveness toward AI necessitates adaptation of regulatory frameworks and ethical codes governing legal practice. I totally agree with Ian that we shouldn't reveal that something is written with the use of AI, which is, I think, required now by ABA rules, because we use it and we use it, it's embedded in all the tools we use. So our ethical frameworks requires a significant change. So if any one of you wants to download the first report, it's on the website, it's publicly available, you can do it. If any one of you, as being an expert in this field, would like to contribute and share the expert opinion to our second report, you are more than welcome. Please contact me during the break. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Marta, the floor is yours.
¿Ahora? No. ¿No? ¿Sí?
Hello?
¿Me oís? ¿Sí?
Yes, it's working.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Bueno, buenos días. Ya que el español es mi lengua, pues quería aprovechar la oportunidad de saludaros en español y pediros disculpas por mi poor English, porque ahora vamos a pasar a otro lenguaje que no es el mío y al final, bueno, eso siempre deja a uno un punto de nerviosismo, ¿no? Yo lo que os voy a explicar son 3 puntos que me parecen fundamentales para estar todos en la misma línea de comprensión de lo que es la inteligencia artificial y los principales riesgos desde el punto de vista ético. Me gustaría repasarlos con vosotros. Yo no sé si los tenéis muy identificados, algunos son bastante obvios y en vuestro día a día os lo habéis preguntado seguramente, pero otros pues quizá no. Entonces me parece importante repasarlos con vosotros. Luego un segundo punto, valorar en los 7 minutos que tengo lo que la normativa europea, estadounidense y china las normas que están implementando para corregir esos riesgos desde el punto de vista ético. Y un tercer punto serían mis reflexiones personales. ¿Por qué? Porque al final, bueno, lo que me ha pedido la organización, a la que agradezco esta oportunidad, es eso, es una reflexión personal, ¿no? La ley la podéis leer vosotros. Yo os puedo dar indicaciones de qué artículos son los relevantes de cada una de las regulaciones, pero me parece más relevante quizá abrir ciertos melones y que luego podamos todos debatir, si os parece, en el turno de preguntas y respuestas. Bueno, pues empezamos con ese repaso que os decía inicialmente, ¿no? Los principal risks of the use of AI. So the first would be the bias, related to the bias and the fairness. Why? Because the artificial intelligence get the information from the different sources that are already biased and even can amplify these biases. So in particular sectors such as the job recruitment or the enforcement of law, this is very sensitive. So we need measures and guidelines to avoid this risk. Second, privacy, of course, and as you can imagine, all the sources that artificial intelligence uses comes from a vast of data that are normally allocated, for example, in internet. So the collection and the protection of the data of people is also key to protect our privacy. Also transparency. Why? Because do you ever wonder why artificial intelligence gave you a specific response to a question that you posed? Why and how? Which algorithm used? What's the process behind of this? This is transparency. So there is a risk of creating black boxes, what they call black boxes. Whenever you cannot identify this algorithm behind this response that the artificial intelligence is giving to you, you not understand or understand what they are, the process behind. What else? The increasing autonomy of the artificial intelligence is also an issue from an ethical perspective, especially in different sectors, such as, for example, the military sector, the use of drones, or automatic cars. Why? Because the artificial intelligence is forced to make decisions that can be harmful for the safety of the population. So in this regard, we need to be very careful also. What else? Healthcare. Why? Because the patient relationship between them and the physician can be also damaged if there is too much involvement of the artificial intelligence and a replacement of the human beings in the relationship face-to-face with the patient and the physician also. It happens the same in the judicial sector, you will tell later, but it's the same. There is a risk of an erosion of the human oversight, and we need to put measures to avoid this to happen also. What else? The environment, the risk related to the environment. Why? Because the computation systems entail a lot of resources in terms of environmental investments. So there is a carbon release and in this process, and we need to avoid the environmental footprint whenever we develop this technology. What else? Well, as soon as the artificial intelligence is part of our different sectors and is implemented, there is a risk of replacement in the jobs of the people. I'm pretty sure that you know Spotify very well, and maybe you don't remember the CD to reproduce music, so this happened years ago. And now, it's a silly example, but it's happening with the translation companies. So we used to use a lot of translation companies for our reach. If we work in an international company, as I do, we tend to translate to different languages for our clients. And now there is a wonderful application, it's DeepL. I don't know if you know it, but it's it's fantastic. It's free, and you don't need to pay the translator to do this work for you. And this disappearing is dramatic because you can see the people trying to offer you better discounts, but at the end of the day, it doesn't work. So in the process of losing their jobs, we need to be very careful with the rights of the people also, because this is a technology that will lead to this and economy differences and deepen the economy differences. What else? Intellectual property, of course. Why? Because as we said, the artificial intelligence get the sources from the internet in the majority, and internet is full of intellectual property rights of many people. So whenever they reproduce a text or an image or so, they can infringe copyrights of different owners. So in particular sectors such as pharmaceutical sectors or finance, the companies need to put measures to avoid this to happen, because they can incur in legal liabilities. What else? Confidential information. This is something very obvious. I don't want to extend myself. And political implications also, because the use of artificial intelligence can lead to try to control the population and the will of the population in one sense. So this will be the risks. In terms of regulation, what we have in Europe, we have the first artificial intelligence regulation. came into force in August 2024. And to me, it's a very extensive regulation in terms of addressing most of the majority of the legal concerns that we were talking about before. It establishes a different category of artificial intelligence depending on the risk. So it's based on the risk assessment mainly. It's a quite detailed regulation based on the risk assessment, as I said. For example, in the US, we don't have the same. Their approach is completely different. It's more focused on the innovation against the over-regulation. So this is posing certain concerns in terms of not addressing the safety and the ethical concerns in 100%. So certain bodies such as the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, for example, are working in their own guidelines in order to address these problems of ethical problems that we were talking about. What happened, for example, in China? China has a more centric approach. They wanted to become a tier 1 country leading the artificial intelligence race. And although it's true that they have released certain guidelines and regulation in terms of safety and ethics, the reality is that their behavior in the practice raised also concerns in terms of trying to control the population. So what we have is, well, a different approach depending on the territory. And here are my reflections. First of all, when I read the European regulation, I found out that we were trying to create a society through the artificial intelligence that we are not. So we are talking about bias, fairness, transparency. I don't think that, and this is, my reflection. If you look at the governments that we have around, I don't really think that we are following this path. It's sad, but I don't really think. So the choices that the population made lately doesn't match with the intention of the regulator. So for me, it's positive because we are trying to use the artificial intelligence to create this society. So in a manner, it's positive. This is my point of view. And the second one is we really think that are we going to achieve this system of fairness and unbiased situations or scenarios if we have different approach? And China, US, and Europe now have completely different approaches. So we should be worried and step back first. And we should be worried about have a common opinion on this, because at the end of the day, if we use the artificial intelligence differently, there will be inequalities anyway. So, and
Marta, thank you so very, very much. So, having heard from a technical perspective, a research perspective, environmental and legal perspectives, I'm very, very happy now to introduce Deputy Minister Dobi and hear your views as to what governments are thinking about AI. And again, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Jim. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here in the Dominican Republic. It's a great place, great weather, great people, and especially being part of these great discussions with more than 1,600 people from all over the world is such a great opportunity. And the panel today, it's about something so important. Michael, you are very right when you say it's not about the future, it's about now. And for us, for the Albanian government, AI is an important tool. We agree totally it has risks, and we are a strong supporter of the Council of Europe Convention on the use of AI in support of the rule of law and of human rights. We are in the process of becoming signatory to it, and of course, at the same time, we have to fulfill obligations as a candidate member for the European Union to sign the AI Act. So we are very cognizant of the perils of AI, but at the same time, we're very cognizant of its usefulness. As the report showed, a lot of highly complex institutions, such as big law firms, are using it at a large level. A lot of students, and we are here at the university, are using it. So it's very important to understand it's a tool. It's a tool that can be very useful if put into the right context. So the way that we've gone about it, it's to be very careful but very trailblazing when it comes to its implementation. We've been very lucky in the content that as part of the leadership group of OpenAI was Mira Murati, their chief technology officer. She's a lady from Albania, born in Vlora in the south of Albania, a beautiful place next to the sea. I see that the sea always brings innovation and new ideas. And with her support, we have been working with OpenAI and with Microsoft in order to implement some of the AI tools into our systems. What we have done is to have a very, let's say, step-by-step approach. We have, at the first stage, used AI in our e-government platform, e-Albania, in order to offer services to the public for gaining information and directions to different services. And now we have a virtual assistant, Diala, that can provide these services at a very, let's say, easy way and very useful way. And at the same time, we're using it in a lot of the different processes in the government making. A very important point is about translation. What we're actually finding, interestingly enough, is that instead of needing less translators, we need more good translators. So for a long time, you need a lot of people to do the mechanical sort of work. We've found, and we're implementing the AI in order to do a lot of legislation, because Albania is in this process that we are in a very good pace to become a member of the European Union by 2030. So it's only 5 years' time, and the entire acquis, so the entire body of European legislation, is nearly 350,000 pages. Of course, we've been in this process since the 90s, so we've done a good chunk of the work, but there's still around 120,000 pages still left to be done. So if we were to go with the pace of another country, which was very successful, in the case of Croatia, it required them 7 years and 30 million euros to just do this sort of work. A work that, by the use of AI, we're doing in about 7 months. But what the important element is in this is that the AI is an incredibly useful tool. When we started the process with OpenAI and with Microsoft, the rate of, let's say, proper translation was 90%. Now it's 99.6%. But, as they say, the devil lies in the details. That 0.4% is where the key is. And that is where we see that the need for the state is very big, because you need the real people that are able to have a look into all the processes. Ian said, everybody's using AI nowadays. And it's not about the technology or the use of technology. It's about the people, how the people take responsibility for the work that they're doing, and how that all is interlinked one with the other. And that is really the part that we're going at this phase. So we have started the very interesting, important technical process, and now we're really in this phase of interacting on how the process go with each other. So we started with a relatively simple or mechanical part, which is a translation, and we are in discussion now, also the Prime Minister's office, and some of their representatives are here, and I thank them for being here, on how to interact and put all the procedures in place in order to make stock of the fact that AI now is part of our process, and how to have the proper safeguards that the state legislation is good at a technical level, good at a linguistic level. With this done, we're also using it for more complex elements, still going on a bit-by-bit framework, testing it out, seeing how we can improve it, and then making it bigger. In the area of approximation, where it does an analysis of all the legislation, where it takes all of the European legislation vis-a-vis the legislation and checks where the gaps are and where areas are needed to be improved. On our own, very own legislation, where we're trying to see all overlaps, all gaps, all issues that would need to be taken into account, so that laws are better drafted. But laws, at the end of the day, are instruments that are for the usefulness of the people. And the role of the judiciary, the ones that have to implement them, is at the core. So that is why we have left the work on the use of AI in the judicial system for last, because we really believe it's the most complex and the most difficult one to tread upon. So for this reason, we at the moment are mainly working with the councils. In Albania, the judiciary and prosecution are completely independent. They have their own governing councils in order to implement a completely new case management system, which by 2027 we want to implement together with digitalization of all the information. So all information are found in easily readable digitally information of all archives. In order so from then we can really start, and we're also discussing with technical operators on how to then put modules that would help the judges in do some of the part of the work that would be useful for them, such as prepare memoranda, prepare certain formats and add information, but all in this in helping in the assistance of the human element, with always the human element being the one. The judge is the one that judges, is the one that makes the decision. These are only tools. Rightfully, Jinan said, nobody bats an eye when you say, oh, I proofread this by using Microsoft Word or another word processing tool. In the same way, also now with AI is becoming part of our life. So the only way we can go forward is by making it part of the life, recognizing it for what it is, and ensuring that all these potential risks are mitigated, and it is a useful tool and not a tool that enslaves us into their ways, because we don't want to end up as in Dune of Frank Herbert, where thinking machines took over, but we want to have humans as the center of it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. So we have a few moments left, and I was writing down some points and some questions. And there is just, I think, an important one that I would like to ask each of the panelists just to think about and share their thoughts for a couple of minutes. There was something, Ian, you all mentioned about the idea of choice, that we need to continue to be making the decisions. But as technology continues to grow, I, for one, sometimes feel like technology is, if not leading the decisions. As we say in law, they're leading the witness. As simple as when I'm typing a text or writing a document, it intuitively tells me, this is the next word you should use. I'm like, well, no. But sometimes it might be, well, okay, sure. So I guess the last minute I want to talk about the idea of how do we maintain and can keep human choice, that it just doesn't become the computer leads us in a direction. Ian, why don't you start with you? So everyone take about 2 minutes if you don't mind.
Yes. So my answer to that question is quite a simple one, and I can say it in one word. And the word is education. This is the key. To have AI issues taught in every school, in every university, every place that teaches anything at all, we now need to be incorporating teaching about artificial intelligence into part of the curriculum. It's the only way we're going to stop, as I call it, the tech zombie problem. If people have switched off that... Now, let me also say, to modify that answer, that long before artificial intelligence, computers have been making decisions for us already. And we've got quite used to that because we've got quite used to it. And I think that's an important point. For example, every time, well, I know more about this in the US than Europe, say, but every time someone applies for a mortgage in the United States, there's an automated decision tool happening in the mortgage company telling the mortgage company whether this person is a good risk or not. And I know that because Lexis supplies all that service to the financial companies. And the other thing that I want to point out, which is connected to this, which is the realization that what is the change that AI-type technology does. Let me do this by two analogies, if I can. I'll be as quick as I can.
Quickly. Thank you.
The first is many of you, well, okay, I'll speak for myself. I'm old enough to remember when calculators were not allowed in mathematics exams. Yeah?
Me too.
Now, there was a big argument. Oh my God, if you allow calculators into maths exams, that will be the end of maths. No one will need to learn anything anymore. What actually happens? What actually happens is that now the calculator does the grunt work that was basically done by a human. And the human takes the output of the calculator and does something with that. Yeah? That's what we refer to in the jargon as moving up the value chain. Okay? And this is how we ought to view AI in the legal sphere. Very often, The grunt work now won't be done by, or at least version 1 won't be done by a human, it will be done by a machine. We will then take the output from it and do something with that. And I think that's very important to think about it in that way. So my answer to your question about all of this is about education and realizing that it's just another tool.
Thank you. Although I don't know, I think I benefited something from having to learn my times tables, which younger people I don't think do anymore. But with that, Marta?
Totally agree, Ian. And I will add regulation. Why? Because there are certain activities, and I invite you to read the Article 5 of the European Regulation 2024, which establishes the prohibitions in terms of the use of artificial intelligence. So did you know that, well, it cannot be used, the biometrics, to identify your emotions while you were working? So it has to be regulated, otherwise it can be used for these purposes. Again, for example, do you remember the movie Minority Report? Yes. So it was one of my concerns when this topic arises of artificial intelligence. So this cannot be done because you need to be based on real facts in order to use the artificial intelligence to produce a judgment, a sentence, and to help in this process. Otherwise, you cannot use biometrics to identify the physical characteristics of a person and conclude that this person is likely to commit a crime. It's an example. Regulation, in my guess.
We're really out of time. I'm sorry, Ian. Teddy, although I worry less about the story of Minority Report, and I see humans becoming more like the humans in WALL-E. So that's where I think about it. But Teddy, please.
For me, it's both of things that were said before. It's education, regulation. These are the key. But at the same time, it's trial and error. So we really need to try things out carefully. Because my fear is that I see there are two approaches. One is the one that, oh, we should do nothing with it, or the other is that laissez-faire, everything can be done, and let's go all for it. So for me, the best way to see it's as a tool, because sometimes we have this sense of anthropomorphizing things. We sometimes talk to ChatGPT as it's our friend. No, it's just a tool. So it's very important that we take things step by step. We are, let's say, brave enough to try things out, but at the same time, courteous enough, and at the same time, we should not be lazy. Like, one of the big fears with sort of things that they are convenient. They are conveniences. They prepare everything for you. It looks nice. But if you actually sit and try to think it properly, you see that it's mechanical, it's robbed of emotion, it's robbed of logic sometimes. Even the data are not correct. So it's very important to always be vigilant. And of course, education is the name of the game.
And Michael, you'll get the last word. When you mentioned, though, about appliances and tools, I keep thinking to myself, sure, they're only appliances and tools, but when the microwave stops working, how many of us really want to go and cook on a stove? So, Michael, you get the last word.
Thank you. A lot was mentioned and said. But I'm a constitutional lawyer by background, and I was reading a lot of Dworkin's books, and Dworkin says about balancing values. So, about the use of AI by judges. If you are asked if you would like to have AI-based decision, almost everyone said, or judicial, done by a judge itself without AI, almost everyone will answer clearly, I would like the judge to decide. But if you are asked, if you prefer to wait for this decision by the judge, given by the judge 3 years, or have an AI-based decision given within a day or a week, and then 10% of these cases reviewed by a human when people are questioning, challenging this decision, and then the whole process takes a year, the answer would be more nuanced. I don't think everyone decides to go for the human path only. So this is about balancing. If the use of AI gives us faster justice, then I'm for faster justice with technology.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for my panelists. thank you all for your kind attention. And that concludes this panel. Thank you all.